Kevin Iole at Yahoo Sports. I am joined by UFC President Dana White. Dana, UFC 269 on Saturday, two title fights, a great card. Sugar Sean O'Malley on, Dustin Poirier challenging Charles Oliveira in the main event. We're going to talk to a lot of those fights, but I want to start with a little business deal. Last month, and I actually sent you this story to talk about it, Endeavor reported $1.4 billion in third quarter revenue and $63.6 million in net income. And I want to read you this paragraph because you talked about 2020 being the best year in the company despite the pandemic. And this story, and I'm not sure what the source of it is, but it says, the company says it delivered its best 9-month year-to-date period in UFC history. So the second year in the pandemic, so back-to-back years in the pandemic, you're doing the best in history. What do you attribute all this to?
Yeah, and we're going to we're breaking tons of records this year too. You know, ever since we went back to fans coming, we've sold out every event. We're going to break the pay-per-view record this year, most pay-per-views ever in a year.
Most pay-per-views sold, right? That's what you mean.
Yeah. And a lot more. So, you know, we charged right through COVID. We figured out how to do it. We did it. And I believe that the fan base grew in 2020. You know, obviously our social media grew and lots of other numbers, you know, showed that we did. So going into 2021, I mean, I put out a video last year around New Year's. And I was like, hey, 2020, I kicked your ass. 2021, I'm coming for you now. And, you know, that was the mentality here coming into 2021, that we were going to be first. We were going to be the first. We were the first back on TV, and we're going to be the first full capacity indoor live event. And we did all of that. And I think, you know, being aggressive like we were has paid off.
One other thing about that, when you talk about, you know, you're going to set a record for pay-per-views, you know, this has been kind of a difficult year for pay-per-view for some of the boxing promoters. Even with really good shows, the boxing promoters haven't done as well. You're able to maintain that loyalty where you build an audience that buys your shows, I think almost to a certain degree, regardless of who's on the card, right? You get people that you know, when it's a numbered UFC event, they want to see it. What is the secret to that? Is it promotion? Is it the sport? Is it, you know, is there anything that you can say is the secret to that success?
It's about putting on good events from top to bottom. You know, when the fans that follow the UFC, whether you come to the live event, you watch it at home with your friends, or you watch it in a bar, you know what you're going to get, you know? And what I sell are holy moments, you know, 3 or 4 holy moments of fight. And, you know, you don't ever turn off the TV on a Saturday and go, I wish I didn't stay home and watch this, or shit, I wish I didn't buy tickets to this tonight. You know what I mean? We make sure that every time fans come to an event live or pay-per-view, they get what they're paying for.
You can't control what goes on in the ring. Now, I know you set the tone for the type of fights that you want, and you've been successful with that. How do you encourage people to do, you know, to fight the way that becomes fan friendly? Because I know, like, I talk to a million boxers and they say, you know, win this fight, look good in the next one, right? And a lot of your guys are, you know, the opposite. They're happy if they, you know, get into some crazy brawl. How have you set that tone to make that happen?
There's a secret formula to that. There really is, believe it or not. And, you know, I mean, all you have to do, look at the Contender Series. Look at the fights that are on the Contender Series.
Mm-hmm. And that's, you know, that you're making guys hungry and want to go through.
There's a way to do it.
Okay. Well, one of the guys that's really hungry is Dustin Poirier. He's been an interim champion, but not a full champion. He gets a chance, and I think this is really interesting in the main event, Dana. You got two guys that are so even. Poirier and Oliveira, I just wrote this in my column, are 10 months apart in age. Oliveira joins the UFC 8 months after Poirier does. And the records are very similar. Everything is very similar. But yet I think if you look at their career tracks, most people would say Poirier was an A-level fighter longer than Oliveira was. Oliveira's kind of come into his own in the last couple of years. Starting with Oliveira, why do you, he's on a 9-fight winning streak. What do you attribute this change in?
I don't know if that's exactly true. I mean, because when you look at Oliveira, he has the record for most finishes. He's got the record for most submission wins, performance of the night bonuses, and you're talking, he's finished 17 fighters, 14 subs, 11 performance of the night bonuses, post-fight bonuses. He's got 17. The guy's been there and he's been exciting for a long time, and he's been fighting, absolute studs. 28 of his 31 wins have come by finish. He's got a 90% finish rate. You know what I mean? It just took him longer for people to really start to notice him than it did for Poirier. And he had a couple of issues with weight in the past.
He lost 3 or 4 fights at one point.
Yeah, exactly. So, it just took him a little bit longer. And it happens with some guys. Some guys become, huge stars and get noticed right away. Others, they got to work hard at it.
Stylistically, what kind of fight do you think we expect? We know Oliveira's great at the submissions. And the thing I think is amazing about him is it's not like, say, to use Ronda Rousey example, she had that great armbar and she would submit people with that armbar. Poirier has calf slicers, rear naked chokes. I mean, every kind of submission you can think up and some that you can't. Oliveira has done in competition. So what kind of fight can we expect, do you think, stylistically, given what they both do?
Yeah, no, I think this fight is absolutely unbelievable and exciting no matter where it goes. If it's standing, it's exciting. If it goes to the ground, it's exciting. Obviously, standing, I give Poirier the advantage. On the ground, I give Oliveira the advantage.
Yeah. Now, Poirier had an interesting comment I saw a thing on UFC.com where he's talking about his fight with Conor McGregor, and he said, if he hadn't broken his leg, he wasn't going to finish that fight. I broke his heart. Is Poirier the kind of guy that breaks fighters' will? I mean, is he that type of fighter that you see?
Yeah, he's a tough, durable guy who keeps coming forward, hits hard, always in great shape, and is willing to go the distance and knock down, drag them out wars, man. Yeah, he's a tough guy.
Let's transition to the co-main event. Amanda Nunes, the GOAT, is minus 900 favorite to win this fight. It's almost like a fait accompli, according to bookmakers, said she's going to win against Juliana Pena. But the one thing I don't get, and I talked to Amanda about this, Juliana has been crazy with this talk, and Amanda's ducking her, and it's actually not new. I found an Instagram post that she wrote in 2016, a couple months after Amanda won the title. Quit running your ducking. What the hell do you make of what Juliana is saying?
Listen, Juliana picked a fight and she's got one. Amanda Nunes wants to kill her. So, and she's another one. I mean, Amanda Nunes has broke every record there is. Most wins in title fights, most wins in bantamweight division, most knockouts and stoppages in women's bantamweight division history. First athlete to defend both titles. And the list goes on and on. She is undoubtedly the GOAT and the baddest woman on earth. And Juliana picked a fight, and now it's time to step in and do it on Saturday night.
So, if Juliana goes out there and says all these crazy things, Amanda has this weakness or that weakness, whatever you want to say, I'll accept it. She knows better than me. But to say she's ducking her, like, what the hell is she talking about? Yeah,
I think Juliana believes that she has a style that matches up well with Amanda Nunes. And if you're a professional fighter and you want to be a world champion, that's the way you got to think.
Right. No doubt. I asked Amanda this yesterday. So when I talked to her, I thought Dana is going to love this comment. I talked to her a little bit about Kayla Harris, and I said, I know you're a training partner. I know you guys are friends. But if the UFC signs her, she's coming in to fight you. She's going to be in your division. And we've gone through many years of sitting around, reporters talking to you about this guy doesn't want to fight that guy because they're friends. And Amanda said, I'm the champion. So I don't have a choice in the matter. And I just get your reaction to Amanda's attitude about she'll fight anybody.
Amanda Nunes has been incredible to deal with. she's awesome. I couldn't say enough good things about her. And the reason she's the GOAT is because she doesn't have any of that bullshit that these fighters will come up with. I'm not going to fight this guy. I'm not going to fight that guy. Fans don't want to hear that shit.
Right.
Fans don't want to hear that, man. And fans want to hear that you're the man or you're the woman and you'll take on all comers. That's what they want to hear. So as soon as all that goofy shit about being friends starts, it's fucking silly.
Do you have anything you can report to us on Kayla Harrison? Have you made her an offer? Have you talked to her?
No. Off the top of my head, I don't know what her contract status is right now either. So obviously, if she's out of contract, we're interested in her. We'd love to bring her in, and you know, I've heard her say she thinks she's the best in the world. There's only one way to find out.
Right. No, I think that would be a big fight. I mean, she's a fantastic fighter. I think that would be a big fight. Let's go down the card. Another fight that I'm particularly interested in is Sean O'Malley. He's a 300 favorite over Paiva, Rolian Paiva. Paiva had a great outing last time. A really exciting fight. How do you think he matches up with O'Malley?
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. You know, O'Malley's quick. He's good at staying on the outside and picking people apart with punches. He's got flashy spinning kicks and, you know, lots of crazy tricks in his bag. It's going to be interesting to see. It's a fun fight.
Oh, you know, O'Malley's always in fun fights. And, you know, you look at what was your take on his last performance? I forget the guy's name with the green hair. I'm drawing a blank, but I mean, a late replacement.
It was insane.
That dude was incredible. And I thought O'Malley looked good. So I saw some criticism of him for not finishing the fight. I thought O'Malley looked great. You know, what was your thought on that?
He looked incredible. He put on a clinic. It was an absolute clinic against a very tough, durable guy. You know, listen, there's some guys out there that you just can't put away, man, no matter what you hit them with. You know, I you know, so many people that were, you know, fans of O'Malley were like, cheering for this kid at the end because he made it through the fight. You know,
right.
He's just one of those tough, durable dogs that would not go away that day.
Yeah,
but you can't fault O'Malley for not finishing him. That guy was tough. It happens.
Yeah, that was just an amazing fight. I really like that. One of the other fights I'm a little confused on this fight is Cody Garbrandt, the former bantamweight champion, fighting Kai Kara France. You know, if I thought Garbrandt was going to move divisions, I thought he'd go up and not down. I mean, he doesn't seem to be, you know, he seems to have a bigger frame than a normal flyweight would have, but he's going to give flyweight a shot. How do you see Cody as a flyweight, and do you think this was the right decision given the inconsistency he showed at bantamweight?
I talked to Cody the other day, and he was telling me he's never felt better. Should have done this a long time ago, you know. So I don't know. You don't know till we see the fight, you know, and see how he performs. But he's telling me he's never felt better.
You know, I mean, when he won the title from Dominic Cruz, that was an epic performance. We know what a great fighter Dominic Cruz was. And I remember talking to you a few days afterward, and you were really high on his future and everything. And while, you know, I'm not saying he's not an elite fighter. He is, of course, but he's had a lot of more ups and downs than you would think of a guy that did what he did to Dominic Cruz. What do you attribute that to?
Yeah, I was blown away by the performance against Cruz, man. He looked so sharp and so fast. Patient, took his time, and literally picked Cruz apart.
Mm.
Yeah, and then, I mean, there's been guys, I didn't think Figueiredo was going to get beat for years.
Yeah.
You know, there's guys that come in and look incredible, and you're like, wow, this guy is the future. And then the next fight or two fights later, it's just this is a crazy sport, man. It's a hard sport to stay at the top. That's why when you have somebody like an Amanda Nunes, like an Usman, a John Jones, who are so dominant for so long, I don't think people appreciate how special that really is in this sport, because it is hard to do.
Yeah, no, pretty amazing. You know what? I went back and I found an article I wrote in 2011 about a fight on the UFC 125 card. Poirier fought on that card, and I wrote about Josh Grisby as this huge prospect, and everybody thought he was going to be this big guy. And Grisby, that was the first of 4 consecutive losses. Do you remember Grisby? And like, you know, is that kind of a cautionary tale for fighters? He had this huge reputation. People were talking about him being a big thing. He flames out, and Poirier kind of went the other way.
during the Ultimate Fighter, I thought Uriah Hall was going to be the next Anderson Silva. I thought he was going to be the next, the next big thing. You just never know.
Right. What is it that you think separates the guys that make it, the guys like Khabib, the guys like Dustin, the guys like Charles, that overcome whatever troubles they have and they make it, compared to the ones, like we're talking about, that don't make it? Like, what do you think is the differentiator in those guys?
It's such a combination of so many things. From, obviously, you have to start with talent. You have to be talented. You have to be incredibly driven. You have to be lucky enough to not be injury prone and not get a bunch of injuries. You have to not lose your mind once you start getting famous and making some money. There's just so many different variables in becoming great in the fight game, and so many things that can ruin it.
We're getting close to 2022, Dana, so I want to ask you a little bit about that. And the one thing, Cyril Gane versus Francis Ngannou, I love that matchup, and that's coming up, what is it, 271? Is that what it is?
Yeah, in January.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that fight, and I think I kind of like Cyril Gane in that fight. It's still a little early, but I like his style and the way he fights. But in that fight, do you think the winner looks at John Jones? Will the winner see John Jones?
Well, I agree with you 100%. That fight is so awesome, and it's one of the most exciting heavyweight fights we've ever had, with the storyline and how badass both of these guys are. Francis with that one-punch knockout power, Cyril undefeated. They used to train together. The whole deal. They're both champions. So yes, I'm very excited for that fight, and I don't know. We'll see. John didn't want to fight till next year. We're rolling up on next year, and we'll see how that whole thing plays out.
Yeah, I think John Jones against Cyril Gane would, not that John Jones against Francis wouldn't be a great fight, but John Jones against Cyril Gane from MMA standpoint, to me, would be almost the ultimate. That would be an incredible fight.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so that's going to be fun. What else going down the road? What changes? Every year you always say this. You're like a cliche. We know you're going to say it. Wait till you see what we're doing next. So I know you're going to say it at some point. So before you say it, I'm going to ask you, what are we going to see in 2022 that changes from 2021?
Well, I was hoping to announce it in 2021, but I haven't got the deal done yet. I'm still working on it. A lot of the things that we're doing in Abu Dhabi are very exciting. So I'm very excited about the future with them. And obviously they played a huge role in 2020 with us, and the last 10 years being with them has been incredible. So I'm looking very forward to that. Here, I don't know when we would announce this. We have so much stuff going on, Kevin.
Give a man a piece of bread here. Come on.
Here's the problem. We're a public company now, so I can't just shoot my big mouth off like I used to. I'll get in trouble. You gotta play a whole different game when you're a public company now, and I'm a public company nightmare. You know what I mean? So
I'm gonna talk to Ari about going private, so Dana can talk again.
I can't shoot my mouth off like I used to. But let me just say this, and obviously, you nailed it. I say it every year, and every year we do what I say we're gonna do. We've got some big, cool stuff coming, like just completely next level, man. It's just when you think about the growth of this sport and how much room there is still for growth. It's mind-boggling.
You think, last question, and I'll tie it back to the first question I asked you. When you talk about the growth and everything, and I know you get bombarded by all these questions about fighter pay, and I think I understand the fighter pay issue pretty well. But do you think we're going to see a day when on an average routine basis, UFC fighters get paid more than the elite boxers?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Listen, when you talk about the elite, I'm putting on 44 fights a year, right? And
Yep.
People are buying these pay-per-views, 13 or 14 a year, watching all the other ones, building whatever. Then you look at what most of these guys make. Most UFC fighters make more than boxers, okay? Most UFC fighters make more than boxers, especially at a lower level. Then the guys, you know, the Khabibs, the Connors, the Rondas, you know, even the John Joneses, these guys make more than most of these guys that are fighting for big title fights.
Right.
Don't believe the bullshit. Don't believe all the stuff you hear, you know. These guys make a lot of money.
I don't know if you can hear this. I bought a grandfather clock, and I talked to my editor, and I said, you know what's going to happen one day? This grandfather clock is going to go off while I'm doing an interview. And the first time it went off had to be with Dana White.
I'm deaf and can't hear it.
So yeah, I'm not very good at hearing, but I heard it going. So hopefully nobody else heard it. Dana, I appreciate you, brother. I will see you at the show on Saturday. Good luck to you.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.